Hello friends, my name is Claire and I'm going to be doing an abandoned house in The Sims 4 for this week's video. If you are new to my channel and you want to see more spooky builds, I have done homes for a vampire family, a werewolf family, and a spellcaster, and those are all just recent. They should be videos right before this one, so if you want to go check those out, you totally can. This is a video to kind of wrap up my spooky season series. Every October, I do a little love and appreciation for the occults in The Sims. I'm not going to be doing a build for mermaids or aliens this year. I never really done a alien inspired house, and I feel like I did a house in the world of Sulani recently, and so I wanted to take this last week of October for a abandoned house for those reasons, and it's kind of like a collaboration with all the different occult packs I use, and I did use other like non-occulty packs like Horse Ranch and City Living. I wanted to find items that were really like rough abandoned looking, and for example this wallpaper from the Horse Ranch pack looks really worn down, and so that's why I decided to use it. So we do also use some items from the City Living pack in the kitchen for that same kind of like dirty, abandoned look. And I'm also going to be using items from the basement kit. I don't remember the full name, but again, I was trying to go for a lot of items that looked really worn down, and I wasn't like thinking fully of like an era when this home would be abandoned in. I wanted to go for like wood side setting on the inside of the house because watching shows on HGTV, I feel like that's something that they usually take out first thing, and so that's the first thing I put into this house, and it took me a while to find it, and so that's why I don't show the wall choosing and the floor choices when I do videos. So we are just going to be finishing up this front room area slash the living room, and now we are just going to be adding a lot of different cracks and wall details just to make it feel abandoned, and there's not many to like rough around the edges artwork in this game, and so I feel like having these different details on the wall really helped like solidify that this is an abandoned house, and it kind of helped with the different artwork that since there's so few like scribbled artwork, it kind of helped having those pieces get kind of spread out through the house. So we are in the first floor bathroom. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, so we are just going to be finishing up this area with some wall details and starting the next room with some wall details. This is a formal dining room, and I was mentioning that this would be a older home where the furniture and the walls are closed off, and so there's like a more formal dining room, and of course it has to look old and rustic, so I decided to put a table that had like paint chipping or the paint's like peeling off. And I feel like the hardest part in this room was finding the right chairs to use. I wanted to use like a mismatch set of chairs because I was like halfway imagining that squatters would be living here, and so they just are finding what they can or building furniture that they can build. And so I do switch out some of those chairs for metal chairs from the City Living pack. Those kind of cheaper black folding looking chairs, and I'm going to put a lot of different wall cracks into this area, kind of for the same reason I mentioned earlier, but it just kind of looked cool to like have it all like built up on this wall, and it kind of contrasts with the different lines, which I kind of thought was a fun detail. And so we are just going to be adding some artwork and going to be finishing up this room with some spider webs and with some more wall peeling details. And I really like using these different cracks in the room just to help it feel old and abandoned. So we are just going to be finishing up the dining room, and then we're going to be moving over into the kitchen, which is the final room on this first level of house. I will be showing the backyard. I did want the front of the yard to feel like it's like closed off and secluded, but all of the other three walls have a stone pattern or stone fence against them, because I feel like it's a little bit hard to see with like tall fence lines, and especially with that like barbed wire looking one. I wanted to make it easy for you to see what your Sims are doing, and so I do go with a more lower fence line in the backyard. So I wanted this kitchen to feel very mismatched, and I don't usually use the teal appliances, and so this might be my only opportunity. I should use some of these items that I don't normally use. And it's kind of funny, after doing this dark, creepy, abandoned house, I realized I kind of want to do a like light academia, like light colors, light fancy items, and so stay tuned for that. If you want to, make sure if you want to see that, you can hit the like and subscribe button so you will be notified when I post that video. I don't know like my schedule quite yet. I am planning on doing a show challenge, and so I just kind of talked over the kitchen, but I wanted to mention that behind the sink there is a little fountain piece that makes the sink look like it's squirting out water, and I feel like that helps with the abandonedness of the a house. And so if you want to see that, you can stay towards the end of the video. It's in the screenshots, and I got that idea by watching Little Simsy. If you're not familiar with her, which hopefully you are if you follow Sims, but she used to have a series on her channel called Fixer Upper, where she would take a house similar to this and renovate it to the client's desire, or renovate it to the different person's desire. So it's kind of like channeling items that I've seen from that series, although that is also a very old series and there's now a lot more abandoned, rough around the edges type items in the game. So we are just going to be going a little bit crazy with all of these like water splatters and all these like different like peeling wall details. And I feel like it was a really fun detail to add, and it's like you can't really see it, but I feel like your Sims will feel the disgustingness of it. So this might sound bad, but if you want to torture your Sims, you might want to download this house. It does have a haunted trait and some other different like tiers that it makes this house and this lot a little bit more exciting to live in. So we are just in the backyard, and I wanted to make sure that your Sims could still somewhat live here comfortably. So I have a garden and I have a outdoor eating area. I tried to keep this outside area pretty lush with the landscaping, trying to kind of hide the fact on the sides that there's a house here. And so we are just going to be adding a telescope and going to be just kind of finishing up the space. It was a very quick space. I do usually add a like monkey bars or something for the kids, but I wasn't imagining that there would be a kid living in this house. And so we are now on the second level of the house, and I do kind of change this area a little bit during the screenshots. I realized that there's some space I can fill in here, so I do have a pet bed in this area. So if you want to see that, you can make sure to follow for the screenshots. And so we are just going to be adding a little bit more rough around the edges. It looks like for this detail, it's like the floor is cracking, and I thought that was really cool. And so we are just going to be adding some spider webs, and we are kind of just adding all these different things between the landing space and the bathroom area. And I just tried to make the bathroom look pretty cheap. I do use the same toilet and sink from the first level bathroom just to kind of keep that cohesive and consistent. And so we are just going to be finishing up this bathroom area with, of course, some more wall details that make it all look rough and abandoned. If you can't tell what the theme is, it's abandoned house. I was kind of tempted to do a haunted house, and this home does have a haunted house trait, so I guess it's kind of a double whammy. So we are just going to be finishing up the landing space with some more cracks on the walls, and the green bedroom I was imagining could possibly be for a teenager. I feel like in this room I kind of came up with the story for this house where the teenager became a werewolf, and that's maybe the got bitten by their dog. I do have items for a pet, and so they got turned into a werewolf, and that's why the house is abandoned, because the werewolf teenager couldn't keep their emotions in check and had to lash out at everything they seen. And so the parents thought it would be best to move to the world where all of the werewolves are. So that's kind of a story. It's not very like it's like a loose story. It's like you can easily change that, or if you just want to say it's an abandoned house and it's been abandoned for a very long time, you can also do that. So I was just kind of like adding a lot of like werewolf items in this room in particular, just to kind of have like a soft story. It's not really like obvious that the teenager could be a werewolf, but it's like kind of suggested. So we're just going to be adding a clothes area and a mirror, and I feel like the mirror kind of goes along with that story of teen werewolf. So we are just going to be adding some artwork from the werewolf pack, because I was trying to go strong with the artwork with this idea, and so we are just going to be adding some obvious werewolf. Maybe this sim is just like very into the idea werewolves, and so they are trying to figure out where the werewolves are. And so we are just going to be adding some different scrapes in these curtains from the werewolf pack that look like they're like kind of homemade tarp curtains. And for every single window, I do add this different like filth onto the windows to make it feel like it just hasn't been cleaned in a while. And I showed it just on that window because it was just a lot of like individual placing, and so I thought just to save the video a little bit of time, I would just show it on that one window. but all the windows have that little filth on the inside of them, and so we're just gonna be adding some dirty rags, I'm pretty sure they're called, and they're from the City Living Pack, and I just wanted to sprinkle them throughout the space of the entire house, and so we are just going to be finishing up this green bedroom. I'm going to be moving over into the primary bedroom, and I do add a bookshelf into this room because I feel like they needed a little something more. I just realized I needed a little something more after I was recording and taking the screenshots. So we are now in the primary bedroom, and we're just starting off with this broken mirror item from the basement kit, and I liked how it was layered. It does also have a version without these different pictures in front of it, and I do use that version down on the first level in the dining room. And so we are just going to be moving this picture by the end of the bed and going to be adding a picture of an abandoned barn over the bed because I felt like that was very fitting to have a abandoned barn picture in a abandoned house. So we're just going to be adding some side tables from the horse ranch pack, and I really like using these ones, especially for this particular build, because it looks like there's been some dirt built up on the tables, and since obviously hasn't been cleaned for a while, so we are just going to be sizing down the curtains so they fit the windows just a little bit better, and going to be adding a bunch of items on this wall closest to the door where you enter the room from, just to like kind of like build a story in a way of like these Sims might have been hoarders, and there's just like a lot of stuff by the front door or the door to the bedroom, and you'll kind of see me add all of those items up by the door. I feel like one of the bigger items I didn't show is the mattress from the basement kit. I realized I wanted to take a challenge and use every single item from the basement kit, and we are just going to be finishing up this video with some more wall details. If you enjoyed watching, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I post new videos every single Tuesday, and if you have any build suggestions for me, please make sure to leave them down in the comments, and I hope to see you all next week for another Sims 4 video.